So I wanted to talk about this book, which is called Love Poems by Pablo Neruda, who's my favorite poet. I've read this a bunch of times. It's relatively a short book. It's like 90 pages. I've actually spilled some orange juice. I don't know if you can see it at the very top, the little green thing. It was way more, and I did pretty decent damage control actually. So that's the only real like stain left. Anyway, I will do maybe another video on like the entirety of the book, but I'll talk mainly right now about the first poem of the book. I'd like to go through all of them at some point. Maybe I'll do like this little series where each video I go by one, you know? So let me read you the first poem. In you the earth, little rose, roselet, at times tiny and naked. It seems as though you would fit in one of my hands, as though I'll clasp you like this and carry you to my mouth. But suddenly, my feet touch your feet, and my mouth your lips. You have grown. Your shoulders rise like two heels. Your breasts wander over my breast. My arm scarcely manages to encircle the thin new moon line of your waist. In love, you have loosened yourself like seawater. I can scarcely measure the sky's most spacious eyes, and I lean down to your mouth to kiss the earth. I really like this poem. Well, of course, obviously, the reason that Pablo Neruda is he's my favorite poet is because of his very strong imagery, right? The way I write my poetry as well is mainly inspired by him because his poetry is very image heavy, right? That's also why he's the profile picture of my YouTube channel. So, for example, I really like this, the way he describes her shoulders. Obviously, I'll take it from the top. The poem starts off as though he's talking about a woman, obviously. He calls her a roselet, right? Something tiny and naked, as though she would fit in one of his hands, or he could carry her in his mouth, right? So essentially, in his eyes, she's like this small thing, this delicate small thing, like a doll, perhaps, right? But then suddenly, his feet touch her feet, and his mouth her lips. She has grown. It says right here, you have grown. Your shoulders rise like two hills. And this is where the imagery gets stronger, which I like that. He compares her shoulders like two hills, right? Because they have that, you know, that little shape thing. So I really like that. Your breasts wander over my breast, which obviously we get the image of like two people standing near each other, right? And their feet are together and they kiss. And obviously, you know, women have large breasts at times, right? Depending on the woman. And, you know, when you're holding someone, you can feel the other person like here on the chest, right? So this is a way to carry over the imagery to the next thing, which is my arm scarcely manages to encircle the thin new moon line of your waist. I really like that imagery. That's really creative to me. The thin new moon line of your waist, describing her thin waist as a moon-like shape. You know, it's almost like, if in my interpretation of this, I could be wrong. I am no expert. I'm simply a enjoyer of poetry. It says new moon line of your waist. You know, I like to think that's like a crescendo, right? Like crescendo, like the moon. So yeah. Anyway, it goes after to the next lines. In love, you have loosened yourself like seawater. That line really hits it home for me every time I read it. I really like it because it describes so well when you feel comfortable with someone, right? And you're in that intimate moment. It's not a moment of stress. Yes, it could be a moment of passion, but it's not a moment of stress or anxiety or anything. It's like you let loose, right? You let your garments on the floor. You know, you're kissing that person. You're allowing yourself to have this experience where you're very honest, both in body and mind, right? So describing it like seawater. Seawater is loose, right? Because like it just crashes and goes. There's no real firmness to it. So this is a really nice image to describe, that looseness of the situation. I can scarcely measure the sky's most spacious eyes, and I lean down to your mouth to kiss the earth. That's beautiful, man. Like, she's describing her eyes to be like the sky, essentially, right? And I lean down to your mouth to kiss the earth, right? It's like he's trying to make this image, essentially, to an extent, to say that she is his quote-unquote world in a sense, right? Because he's describing both the sky and the earth through only her face. So it's really beautiful. This is a really beautiful poem, and it's a great opener in this book. I really love it. I love the whole book, but I love also this poem. I would recommend for everyone to check this book out, or just look into Pablo Neruda's poetry, because I know poetry can be kind of complicated at times, and people don't really understand its point, right? But once you start reading poets that are like more grounded, and they don't try to use fancy words or try to like really tie in random things together, you can really focus on the meaning and the beauty of the poem itself. That's what I like about it. That's like the poetry I like is simple, right? It's simple poetry that uses heavy imagery to create stuff, because there's so many creative ways you can use to like make an image. You can use so many things to make something look or sound so much more interesting, and people are so interested by those connections you can make with that thing. There's better examples on this poem to show the imagery of Pablo Neruda, right? But they're in there. They're in this book. But I'll show, I guess, in another video while I go through each one. I'll do a mini series where I go through the entire book. I'll just be reading a poem a day. The next videos are probably gonna be shorter because I'm not gonna be yapping as much. But yes, this was the poem In You the Earth. I hope someone enjoyed it. Please check out Pablo Neruda. He is, in my opinion, the greatest poet, which obviously is, it's my opinion. People can like who they like. But yeah, that's about it. Take care.